Good morning and happy Sunday. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so glad that you are too. So, quick update, I'm actually back in California. Back in California. What? My mind is still in California, apparently. I'm back in North Carolina from California. I had an amazing month-long journey in California and have now been back here for a little over a couple weeks, I think. Time seems to go by so fast, it's hard to keep up sometimes. And so many good things happening all the time. So back in North Carolina, but today I'm actually in South Carolina visiting Myrtle Beach. So I'm coming to you live from Myrtle Beach. Okay, so as always, I'm so grateful that you're joining me. And this is an hour that I dedicate to talking about how to live a rich life. And I will be talking about that until I get moved to talk about something different. But I have been so impacted by my own transformation and my own new learning and my new awarenesses in the last couple of years that I can now see how beneficial it is for me to share about what I'm learning in the context of how to live a rich life. And here's why. So when I say rich life, what I have historically referred to is as a liberated lifestyle, right? And that is the heart still of what I help people with, is to live a liberated lifestyle, which is to say you get to live life on your own terms. When you cultivate this level of understanding and this level of knowing what is possible, what you're capable of doing, what's possible for you, you can live life on your terms. It's not just something that people talk about. It's not just a pipe dream. It's not just something you do when you retire. And it's not just something those rich people get to do. No, it's actually meant for you. And I used to be one of those people who thought that lifestyle, that way of being, that life isn't meant for me. Right? I'm a super smart, educated person who works really hard, and I couldn't figure it out. Like, I tried, okay? And for those of you that don't know me, I'm an obsessive learner. I read all kinds of things, take in all kinds of content, all kinds of information, and I spend a lot of time thinking. I'm also a very big thinker, an analyzer. I love to understand things. I'm so curious. And when I find stuff that works, when I find stuff that clicks, I go all in on it, right? I get consumed with it because it works and it's helping me and it's changing me. And so, bigger picture, for me, I couldn't figure out how to, quote, make life work. And then I started figuring it out. And like I said, I had checked all the boxes, I'd done all the right things, and yet here I was, I'd reached about 38 and I was miserable. And again, I came from, just big picture, when you look at someone's life, it's like I had that perfect life. I came from a great family, I have tons of friends, I had lots of opportunities, I went to college, I had checked all the boxes, I'd done all the right things. And I had a very successful career as a therapist, and I was doing really well, both financially and impact-wise, right? I had a team of therapists that was working for me, and we were making a big difference in the lives of so many. And I had people who still come back to me that were clients of mine when I was a therapist and tell me about the impact that they had on their life. So I knew I was doing a good job, right? Because I had that feedback. And all that to say, I still got to 38 and was like, is this it? Because I'm not excited about this. And I'm no longer excited about the future. And that was a really scary experience for me personally, to reach that level within myself, right? Because it wasn't actually about what was going on in my outside world, although I sure as heck thought so, and I sure as heck indicated it was what was going on in my outside. But I also knew it was about what was going on internally. And I knew that those feelings that I was having of desperation and disconnect and a sense of like hopelessness about the future, I knew that was coming and I was experiencing it here in my internal world. And so I knew something had to change, which is what propelled me into going with like that there was no way I couldn't figure it out, right? It's one of those times where you draw the line and you say like, it's either I figure it out or there's no other option. So for those of you that have been there and you know exactly what I'm talking about, you reach a moment in your life for all different kinds of reasons where you're like, this has to work. And so going all in on that led me down this amazing path of reconnecting with the purpose of life and reconnecting with myself through finding a new way to live. A new way that I didn't know about, which still blows my mind, right? That I could get to 40, almost 40 years old and still not know what I have learned in the last 5 years. So I want to give you that hope today, my friends. If you're at a place in your life where you're like, it isn't as I expected it to be, or it isn't as I'd hoped it to be, and if you're one of those people that's in the struggle, you're in the frustration, you're in the why isn't it working, this message is for you. Okay? This message is for you, and there is hope. And I am a living testimony as to why there is hope. And so many other people that I have met in the last 5 or 6 years, and that I've had the beautiful blessing of working with, my own clients and students that I now get to work with to teach them what I have learned, right? And so for context, of course, I'm not only teaching them what I've learned in the last 5 or 6 years, but I'm teaching them what I've learned in the last several years, compounded with all of the things that I've known for the whole 45 years that I've been alive. Okay, so just for bigger context, right? There's no way to actually only teach you what I've learned in the last 5 or 6 years. So of course I'm incorporating that into everything that I've ever learned in my work as a therapist, in my, upbringing in the church, all of those things compiled together. And so for you, my friend, there is hope. There is so much amazing hope for your future. And if you're one of those people that's like, life's actually pretty good for me. I feel like, life's pretty good. Awesome. I celebrate that with you. And life is actually meant to be amazing. You are meant to be amazing. Okay? Dare I say actually extraordinary. You are meant to be extraordinary. And this life is meant to be an extraordinary adventure. And I know firsthand, right? I know firsthand, and from just looking out at the world, it's sometimes hard to believe that that is true. Because there are also so many difficult things that happen in life by appearances, right? We look out there and we're like, oh, there's war and there's people hurting and there's abuse and there's all these things happening. How can that be true, Sarah? How can it really be true that life is meant to be extraordinary? But for those of you who know, right? I'm speaking really to two different groups of people in all my messaging, which is that person who's in the struggle and that person who also, that person who also knows that life is meant to be extraordinary. You have a knowing within you. You have a knowing within your heart, within your soul, within your mind that life is meant to be extraordinary and that you are meant to be extraordinary. And at the same time, you can't quite figure out how to do that, right? You know it and you can feel it out there, but you're like, there's this huge gap in between what I know to be true and me actually experiencing the extraordinariness, okay? So it's really my messaging and my heart is for those two people. Those people that are in the struggle and you so don't want to be in the struggle, but you keep finding yourself in the struggle and you're like, why is life like this? why can't I figure it out? And then those people that are like, yeah, life's actually pretty good. And this is how I used to feel, right? I was both the person in the struggle and I was also time periods, and they're like, life is actually like pretty good, but why am I not enjoying it? Why am I not like loving it at 110%? I should really be grateful for what I have, and yet I know I'm meant for greater things. So you are, okay? That's the big part that I want to impart on you this morning is you are, wherever you're at in your journey right now, you are meant for greater things, and they are available for you. If you're watching this message, they are available for you. So this morning I want to talk a little bit about why we hire practitioners. And I use that word practitioner because while I go by the title life coach, I also used to go by the title therapist. And I have friends who go by other various titles. So whatever title might befall a person. But it goes into this concept of hiring a practitioner. And even deeper, I would want for you, if you fall into those two categories, you need someone who knows how to create an extraordinary life with ease. And that's really the gist. It's like this new place that I've finally gotten to. And here's the other cool thing is life's a journey, 100%. That's a fact. I believe it. I believe it as a fact. And so I know the next 40 years are going to be bigger and better and more extraordinary than my mind can even comprehend, right? Growing up in the church, I know and believe so much of what I was taught, and I've learned so much more that actually has allowed life to expand and be amazing. So I didn't have that information before, and I didn't have that experience. I had moments, but I didn't have it as a lifestyle, which is why I now call it a liberated lifestyle, because we have to break through certain beliefs that we've held forever in order to get free from the ways in which those beliefs are limiting your awareness. They're literally limiting you from seeing the extraordinary, right? And so we know that God talks all about how there is so much amazingness for you to experience. Your mind can't even comprehend it, okay? And I believe that to be true at 100%. So I want to offer that to you, like wherever you're at in your journey this morning, there is so much more amazingness, beauty, deliciousness, so much more love, so much more of all of the things you deeply desire. I won't even go listing them because you've heard me say them 100 times. So all of the things that your heart yet desires to experience, to travel, to be, to do, whatever it is that your heart desires, there's so much more amazingness for you to experience. Your mind can't even comprehend. Okay, so I want to talk about this practitioner thing, right? Because I have come to a point where I've realized, wow, without someone seeing into me, I would never have gotten here. So if you're in that zone and you're like, I'm doing this alone, and I'm aware I'm doing it alone, right? Or if you're in the zone of, I've worked with so many people and I haven't gotten the progress, or I haven't seen the results that you're talking about, Sarah. Like I have hired people and I've worked with people and I'm not where you're saying I could be. Here's the thing. We're either in this mindset of believing that it's a one and done kind of scenario, like you work with one practitioner, whatever the title of that person is, you work with one and then all should be well, okay? Or you're in the mindset of like, why should I need to hire someone to help me, right? Either you're thinking I should be able to get help for free, right? Because the church in a lot of ways sort of propagates that you should be able to get a mentor or a spiritual advisor or someone to come in alongside of you to mentor you and teach you and coach you. And so maybe you're thinking, I should be able to get that for free, right? I should be able to read books. I should be able to get it from YouTube. I should be able to get it from friends. I should be able to go to church. I should be able to get that. Or you're thinking, I should be able to figure it out. Like, why can't I figure it out on my own, right? All by myself, okay? And I fell into all three of these categories. So like, I'm right there with you. And what I also found, and what I've now learned, is it's not a one and done ever, because life's a journey, right? And so like, yeah, if you were to decide like, I'm going to stop growing, I'm going to stop dreaming, I'm going to stop becoming greater than I am, well then yeah, you only need one, and then you're done. And really, you wouldn't be here with me this morning, let's be real, because my whole vibe is about enjoying life to the utmost fullest until you die. So it's never a one and done scenario. And your limits, right, are going to try to prevent you from hiring the true best person for you. Okay? And the number one reason that I had, and that people that I have conversations with have, about why they don't hire someone, right? They start off, maybe it's about the time, maybe it's about they're just not sure, but at the end of the day, it comes back to money. They're like, oh, it's too expensive. I can't afford it, et cetera, et cetera. Some version of, I can't afford it, it's too expensive, it's too much money. I don't have the money, all the things related to money, okay? And I'm gonna dive into that for a hot minute just to give you something really useful. But it's like, I can't do it because I don't have the money. And so when we think it's like we've already hired all of the people, right? Because that's the other mindset. It's like you've hired all of the people and it hasn't worked. Well, it's because your limits haven't allowed you, the rules that you have about how to spend, how to invest your money, haven't allowed you to actually hire at the level of awareness that you need to hire someone. And so what I did for years is I hired people that felt comfortable. Okay, so if you feel comfortable paying X amount of money, then you will hire that caliber of a person. Now, it's not to say that there's nothing wrong with them, right? Because I'm not putting a dollar amount on it. But this is the thing. If you're comfortable with what you're paying, then you're actually looking for comfortable. And that is the result, that's the outcome, that's the type of work, the type of coaching, the type of help you're going to get in return, is what allows you to feel comfortable. Okay? And that's what I did for so long, right? And I got stretched for sure, don't get me wrong. And if, any of my practitioners are listening and hearing me say, like, don't get me wrong, I got stretched. But I didn't get really pushed out of the comfort zone to challenge the inner core of my beliefs. And if I pushed back and I challenged some of what they were maybe trying to challenge me on, I would find a way to rationalize or reason my way out of it. Okay? So again, my mind, and I know this is happening for you because it was happening for me, is I would be like, oh, well, I can't hire that person, right? Or I'm not ready to hire that person because of what? Because of how much they cost, right? I would be like, oh, I'll be ready to work with that person in 5 years from now. And so again, that's literally just a rule that I had that limited me from actually hiring at the level at which my mind needed to be challenged, which means the level of the beliefs that I had, the level that they needed to be challenged and taught something different. Okay? And so until I became willing to invest in myself at a higher level, and when I then, was looking for a practitioner, I saw in them something that was like, wow, if I were to work with that person, I would actually be raised up. Again, something I absolutely taught in church. We're meant to be raised up. We're meant to be inspired by people. We're meant to see something in other people that brings us higher. Absolutely. Okay, so that's actually what we're meant for. But we'll get stopped by our own limits when we see what we want, and then we find out how much it is, and we're like, oh no, I could never do that. Right there with you. Okay, And then this other version of me, which I know you're also out there, which is I should be able to figure this out on my own. And I did that for years, right? I was the professional. I had gone to school. I had, great family. I had all of these things that I thought defined I should be able to figure this out on my own. And I tried. And I tried, and I tried, and I read all the books, I watched all the YouTube videos, I listened to all the podcasts. Now, obviously, I didn't listen to everything that there is because a human doesn't have enough time to actually take in all that there is. And so you can't ever actually say, I've tried everything. I won't go down that rabbit hole. But I put in obsessive effort. And again, I was a therapist and I did CEUs of all kinds. I love learning. And so naturally, I would go to all kinds of trainings and I would constantly be reading a book. If you're out there and you know me personally, you know I always had some new idea, some new book, some new author, some new speaker, some new technique that I would be like, oh my gosh, have you heard of this? Da, 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 that I would be super excited about. And I'm still like that. Don't get me wrong. So I had read all of the books, I had gone to all the trainings, and I still got to 38 and was like, WTF? Like, why am I not in a better place? Okay? So I just want you to know from my own experience and then from what I've seen in my clients and in my students that I'm now working with, it's all the same sentiment, right? They either believe they should be able to figure it out all on their own, they believe they've hired a whole bunch of people and none of it works, so why would I hire another one? Or they think I hired one person, I should be there by now. And so you can see the error of the thinking in all three of those. Because here's really what I've now learned and what I can tell you with where I'm at now, that I've passed all of those things. It's like, yeah, I actually can't just read a book and expect to be greater than I am. I can learn some more, I can make some changes, I can make some tweaks, but I'm not gonna elevate to a greater place. I also know I can't read all of the books and all the podcasts because honestly, it's just not possible. I can take that content in and feel better and know more, like I just said, like when you're doing it on your own, it's kind of that same thing, right? You take in all the stuff and it's never one and done because I have always more to learn, right? There's always more greatness. And so as I would accomplish something, then I would reach a level and then I would need a new kind of help. Okay? And the other thing that would happen is something that was working for me would stop working. And then I would be like, oh, it doesn't work anymore. It's like, no, it just means I had changed, right? Over time, we grow, we change. We're always constantly ebbing and flowing and growing and changing. And when you change, then you change. And so something that was working for you before stops working. Doesn't mean that thing doesn't work anymore. It just means you have reached a new level and therefore you need a new kind of practitioner or a new level of a practitioner. Okay? So if you've hired a bunch of people, then the same thing applies, right? It just means you've gotten to a place in your limits where you need to be willing to go to a higher degree. And for myself as well, I now hire what is outside my comfort zone, outside my comfort zone. And what is really cool that I learned in church growing up, it's about faith, right? And I never understood the level that it's about faith until now, which says a lot. I mean, I grew up in the church. My dad's a pastor. We talked all kinds of things about faith, but I didn't learn this kind of faith. And I'm not even saying they didn't necessarily teach it to me, but my ears did not hear it. Okay, so for whatever that is worth to you, to also be able to know for your own life, you maybe were taught it, you maybe weren't taught it, but either way, it doesn't matter. Your ears didn't hear it. And so your mind doesn't possess it. Okay, so learning about this kind of faith is to be able to apply it and say for yourself today, that which you cannot see, right? So you're giving, you're investing at a level that feels scary. I know it does for me. In the moment, it's like, wow, this feels really far outside my comfort zone. And yet, what I have learned is that is the place we need to go to be able to get to where we want to be. Okay? So again, if you're in the struggle and you're like, I don't want to struggle anymore, or if you're over here and you're like, life is good, but I want life to be amazing. I want to wake up in the morning and feel like, yes, then this is the path for you. It's this awareness of, I have to be willing to invest myself, invest my energy, invest my time, and invest my money at a degree that is stretching me. Okay? Because you have faith that the thing that you see in that practitioner is what you need. Right? It is for you. You're like, wow, that person really has something that I know if I had it, I would be able to excel to where I want to go. Right? I wouldn't be in the struggle anymore, or I would be able to go high. I would be able to get where I want to go. So that is true. That actually is how faith works, is being willing to have belief for that which you cannot yet see, which means you put your money down and you expect to get the return that you have the belief is available for you. Okay, so again, right, I'm speaking firsthand. When I'm willing to invest, I can tell you even just real quick, the first story of what I would call my breakthrough into this realm of my life, into this season of my life 4 or 5 years ago, this sort of pivotal moment where I was in the miserable and I was able to, so that was right about 38, I was in the miserable. I had put off for a year this course that I knew was going to help me get out of my miserable. It would end my struggle because I saw it in a friend of mine. And I was like, wow, he now has something that I know if I had, I would feel so much better, right? It was like the answer for that moment. I don't actually believe any one thing solves our life problems, but I don't, because we're always growing, like I just spoke about a moment ago. So I saw in my friend something that I knew I needed. And I knew that if I had it, I could potentially end my miserable. And yet, because I didn't have the level of faith in myself, because I didn't have that level of faith in the way that I operated, I put off investing in that one thing for a year. A year I put that off. And here's why I share that, because it doesn't matter. Now that I've had all the ranges for all these years of investing in myself and putting my time and energy into different practitioners, again, I'm using that term very broadly, I now know it's never about the money. It's always about my belief in myself to achieve the thing that I'm investing in. Okay, so it's always about my belief, my awareness, my understanding, my faith of my being able to get that return on my investment. And I'm using those words very intentionally because straight up, that is what it is. Everywhere that we put our money, we're always getting a return of some kind. It's just most people don't think about spending their money that way. It's for a topic for another day. So that first thing was $1,000. Okay? And I laugh now because it's I put off spending $1,000 when I was miserable. And let me just add, I had money in the bank. It wasn't like I didn't have the money. No, I had the money. I had money in the bank. I was miserable. I saw it in my friend. I knew in my soul, in my heart, I knew if I had what he had, I could potentially end my miserable. I didn't necessarily think it would end right away, but I knew it would get me on the path to ending the miserable and potentially getting me to a point where I felt much better about life. And yet, the limits within me and the rules within me put that off for a year. And I would come up with all kinds of excuses it was too much time, right? It was too much money. Again, it was literally only $1,000 and it was too much money to end my suffering. which is a mind-blowing thought now, because the different price ranges that I have spent since I spent that $1,000 is like vast. And that $1,000 is the such a small amount of money to me now compared to other amounts of money that I've spent to get what I wanted. And when I think about like, you know, $1,000, again, right? This is like several years ago for me now, but $1,000 would be, I don't know, several times of going out to eat, right? I mean, even if it were 100 times of going out to eat, you're probably going to go out to eat 100 times in the next year, probably. In the next, even if it's 2 years, doesn't really matter, right? The point is, it's a short period of time. It's a small amount to be willing to invest to be happy. I was miserable. Like, let me really be clear. I was miserable. So it just, again, has so taught me so many valuable lessons to be like, as I'm growing and I'm expanding and I'm investing in massively bigger ways in more important things, not more important, but more like just more stuff that I want now, right? My marriage, my business, still me to feel happy and good, my health. I now invest in all of those things very intentionally. But at the time, I just wanted to not be miserable. I just wanted to be able to want to wake up every morning and get out of bed. And I wasn't willing to spend the $1,000. Okay, so I made up all kinds of excuses that it was too much money, it was too much time, right? And the thing that was too much time, again, now I think it's so humorous because, again, this all goes to awareness and understanding. Once you become aware that life is truly a journey, right? We say that so flippantly, but like if you really embraced it, you would show up massively different in your life and towards the way you view practitioners. You'd be like, if life is really a journey, and there's an endless amount of amazingness for me to experience in life, and I can actually have all of the things that I want, just try those 3 on, right? If you didn't hear me, like, listen to it again. Like, if you just had those 3 beliefs and you tied it with life as a journey, of course you would hire people to help you. If you really believe just the one thing, if you really believe that you can have exactly what you desire in life, of course you would hire somebody to help you get it. It's like saying if I gave you a lottery ticket, right? And I said, hey, this lottery ticket is worth $1 million. It just won the like $1 million jackpot last night. You should go cash it. Are you going to be like, maybe not. I don't know. Is Sarah serious? She's really giving me $1 million ticket. And you just decide not to go and turn it into the local gas station? What? That sounds crazy, right? Like that sounds completely crazy. Surely enough, you would go and drive and actually check it out. But it's really exactly the same thing. Again, when you have the belief that you can have exactly what you want in life. But here's the thing, most of us have been taught that we can't have exactly what we want in life. Most of us have been taught you'll be lucky to have what you want in life. Most of us have been taught life is hard, work is hard, marriage is hard, parenting is hard. And so our general perception is, why would I really bother investing in myself? Why would I really go and hire practitioners when I don't really believe that I can have what I want and that life is meant to be extraordinary? Right? The pains that you've experienced, the heartache, the hurts, the grief, the loss is so much bigger. The belief in all of that is so much bigger than what God tells us, which is that life is amazing. And you are amazing. And you are so loved. You are meant for the whole world. You are meant for all of the things that you desire to be true. But because we're so tied and mixed up and so believing and piled under our humanness, our human nature, we end up completely unintentionally, end up putting our faith in our fears. We believe our fears. We believe, we put our faith in what we cannot have. We put our faith in what we cannot see. And we believe we can't have what we can't see. Right? And so we end up not aspiring to our greatness. And we end up not being willing to hire practitioners to help us. Okay, so I'm going to pull it in here a little bit. I'm going to peruse some of my notes because I got the most beautiful downloads this morning. I had prayed, just sort of asked the universe, God, to give me the words that I was meant to share with you this morning. And I woke up this morning and it just came to me, and I had written it all down. So it didn't come in a beautiful format. It came in just a stream of consciousness. So what I want to share with you this morning, as we're wrapping it up here, is the cost you're paying now. Everything always has a cost. It's part of being human. It's the human nature is that there's always a cost. There's always a trade-off. You've heard that, I'm sure, and it's true. And so when you really meditate on that, then you're like, oh, there's always a cost because I'm always choosing between one thing or another thing. And so it's true here. The cost you're paying now for not getting the help that you need is higher than any amount of money that you will ever pay a practitioner. The cost you're paying now, the cost you're choosing to pay, again, unintentionally for most people, some of you intentionally, because you have an awareness, I really do need to hire someone, I really do need to work with someone, I really do need help, and it's been years that you've been languishing in the suffering or the belief that you're not good enough and you can't achieve what you want, you can't have the love that you want, you can't have the healthy body that you want, you can't have the business, the money, whatever it is, you've been languishing in that. Right? Again, no judgment. I was there. I was languishing the hell out of that zone. And it was awful. Even when it was I just can't have, I can't have the love that I want. That still felt awful. Right? Even when I wasn't in the depths of the misery, just any notion of I can't have what I want. I can't have the love that I want. I can't find a man to love me. Just that sentiment, right? It defies who God is. Because God is always giving us exactly what we want. Not just what you need, but what you want. It's available for you. And yet we come up with our human nature and we say things like, I can't find love. My husband isn't being the person I want him to be. My kids aren't acting the way I want them to act. Right? We come back to this place of saying, I don't have what I want. I'm not making the money. I don't have the business. I'm not able to travel. Again, when you really boil it down and you distill it and you get super clear, you're saying, I don't have what I want, which is also saying, God isn't giving me what I want. God isn't blessing me with the things that He has promised to give me. And all what I want to offer you there, that's happening, I was going to say all that's happening, but it's really the thing that's happening, and it's so massive, is we're putting our faith in what we do not have. We're putting our belief in God doesn't give me what I ask Him for. God doesn't give me what He promises to give me. And this is how I know that you have fallen into thinking, into a belief pattern, into a way of being, into a way of thinking that just simply isn't true. It isn't accurate. So if you're in that zone, it's okay, cool. Then what's happening is you're simply putting your faith that you can't have what you desire, that you can't have the things that God has promised to you, which is actually the same as saying you're not aware of how you already have them. You're not aware that you can have them. And so you're missing awareness. Your thoughts have made an error. Your mind is in error in the way that it is thinking. Because you can't believe 100% that God is real, that is true, that God wants to give you and says he gives you all the things, and at the same time also believe that you can't have what you want. It's like it's like having faith, and it's like having faith and fear and faith and love at the exact same time, right? Now you can have them slightly at a different time, but you can't actually be in fear and in love at exactly the same time. I'm not even going to go down that track to explain, because this is like a much bigger picture that I'm drawing out for you here that's so much more important for this moment, for this message. So, you are meant to have exactly what your heart desires. And again, I speak this with so much conviction because I have experienced it for myself. And if I hadn't experienced it for myself, I wouldn't be able to speak it to you at this level of energy and excitement. And I now work with folks, right? I now work with a handful of people that are learning this from me, who are getting the same results, right? They didn't believe that they could have what they wanted. They didn't believe that it was meant for them. It was, that they had lived too long. I mean, literally one of the people that I have had the honor to coach was 90 years old. It just tickles me. So, to be able to offer hope and inspiration and new awareness at 90 years old, to have him say back to me, Sarah, thank you so much for giving me what you have given to me, because now I can live the rest of my life, however long that is. I get to be with less fear. I get to see how I can live without fear, right? Again, something I didn't know was even possible. And certainly at 90, you're thinking like, yeah, life is like over. No, he wanted to know. He had an awareness of like the struggle that he was in, and we were in conversations about the struggle, and I just said to him, hey, you actually don't have to have that struggle, and I could help you with that. I could show you how to not have that struggle anymore. Would you like to know how? And he was like, yes, please tell me, right? And so we ensued in this engagement of a period of time of him learning how to live in a new way. So it's true testimony, and it's like so rich for me, because not only can I speak to you from my own personal experience and from the experience of many other people between the ages of 20 and used to be up to about, I think the older, maybe like in the 60s, early 70s, but now it stretches to 90. Okay, so it's like the span of a lifetime that has learned to live a new way. To be able to see how life could be greater than what they previously believed was true. And that is having faith. And the only way you can have, that I believe, the only way I believe that you can have that is by being willing to partner with another human that has that information, that has had that experience, that has that conviction, that has that belief, to be able to give it to you. And it happens over time, where you're in partnership, you're in conversations over time to come to an understanding for yourself of how it is applied to your life. It's magical. Absolutely magical. Okay, so let me summarize. Let me wrap up here. Oh, let me add this in, because this is also so important. The other thing that I would add to you when you're like, oh, but I have this practitioner or that practitioner. Here's the thing, right? And this is why I share my own experience of being a therapist previously, because I have been a practitioner for 25 years. And I've only just come into this level of my own awareness, this level of my own faith, this level of my own experience in living in the last handful of years. So you may be working with a practitioner right now, and they may even be amazing, just like my people used to say about me, right? But if you don't know, then you just don't know. And that's where I was at. For all those years previous, I was doing great work and I was giving them everything that I had. And some people that I worked with would actually come up to the level where I was in their own awareness and their own understanding and their own enjoyment of life. But that was as far as they could go with me, because it was as far as I had gone. Okay, so your practitioner probably is amazing. And here's the thing. If you're not getting the exact results that you most want, then you need to be matched with someone who is able to give it to you. So you ask yourself, can this practitioner give that to me? And or have conversation with that practitioner about what you want. And can you give that to me? When I go now, Troy and I both, when we go to practitioners that are performing like massage or chiropractic or physical therapy, I now ask them, this is what I want, right? I now operate at a level in my life where I expect my body to be restored to wholeness, which means no pain. Let me tell you, I didn't used to believe that. I will share that on another day. Now I go in and I say to the practitioner, like, this is what I desire. Are you able to give that to me? And they might say, oh, well, I don't know, blah, 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 right? Because they want to like cover themselves. I totally get it. I like used to have that same, like, I got to cover myself liability. But in conversation with them, right? I'm like, no, you don't have to promise me. You don't have to guarantee me. Like, I just want to know that you believe that you can bring my body to this level. Because this is where my belief is. Can you match my belief for the results that I desire? And if they can't, I don't work with them. Okay? And neither does Troy. Because, Troy and I are in partnership. And so he may not always agree completely with what I have to say or what I have to offer, but he trusts me. So, all that to say is we're both at that place where we're like, hey, I know you can only give me what you believe that you can give me. And so if you don't match that place where I'm looking to go in my own life, then you're just not the right person for me. There's nothing wrong with you. I'm not judging to say that you're not a good practitioner. It just means you're not where I want to be in my journey. That's all it means. So for you, if you're working with somebody right now, I offer that to you. Absolutely use it. And allow yourself to bring in additional practitioners, because that's the thing. Where I'm at now, I have one primary person that works with me in my brain and in my awareness and in my cultivation of my transformations. But I have multiple people that are helping me create what I want my life to look like, right? People who are specialized in marriage, in health, in business, in, sales, in copywriting, all different things that apply to my specific unique circumstances. So you too can do that very same thing. It is available for you. And I think the most important practitioner to have is that one person who's going to help you expand your awareness, who's going to bring you to a new way of living. And that is what I do. That is my zone of genius, the thing that I obsess over, the thing that I love learning about, the thing that I'm like all about learning, all about knowing, and all about doing for my own self, right? So of course, I have that practitioner that I invest in at that level that feels like, this is like amazing. And I have the faith that he is going to help me become greater than I am right now. Not from like an ego, pride kind of a way. Like, don't get confused if you're hearing that. In a way that's like, my life is even more amazing than I ever imagined it could be. And that is the road I'm on, is I want that, right? Like I learned that in church growing up and I never understood it. I never like believed it. And now I do, because now I can actually see the path for myself, my experience of life to actually be greater, better than my wildest imagination can come up with. It's available, and it's available for you. So when you do that work, you invest in yourself at that level that stretches you outside of your comfort zone by bigness, stretches you outside of your comfort zone for you specifically, right? Which is again why I don't talk any specific amounts of time or money, because it's really very specific to you and where you're at. But the way that I would leave it with you for who to hire and how to like know who to hire. Number one, they're probably already in your zone already. It's not like somebody you need to go out and find, is the way I believe. And or they're going to be brought into your life the minute you say, I want someone like what you're talking about right now, Sarah. I want someone like that to be able to help me. They're going to be brought into your zone like very soon, if they're not already there. Most of the time, 98% of the time, they're already there. So they're already in your life. You already have a knowing of them. You're already aware of them. You already believe them. There's really just this component of you that's resisting doing it, that is like holding back for parts of belief that are in your mind. But that really is the best way to choose somebody, is they're already there. And why do I believe that? Because I believe that God gives us exactly what we need. It's just that most of the time, it doesn't look like what we thought it should look like. It doesn't look comfortable. It doesn't feel safe. And so we're not willing to go big. We're not willing to go all in, as those phrases come about. We're not willing to bet on ourselves. We're not really willing to put our time, our money, our energy where we really do know here, cultivated here, that thing is really for me, but I have some fear about the time, the money, the energy, and so I'm not doing it. That's the person, okay? That's the person that's meant for you. It's the thing that you need to be able to get where you want to go. And I want to leave you with this. You can do it. You can do it. The results that they will bring, the results that you will get from allowing that person in, from you choosing to hire them, choosing to work with them, choosing to partner, have them right there alongside of you through life, providing a new way, you will get the very things that you desire. Living in your purpose, feeling deeply connected to yourself, feeling deeply loved, optimistic about the future. You'll be a more loving parent, a more loving spouse, a more loving human. You'll be making the money that you desire. You'll have the job. You'll be doing the work that you love. You'll be feeling valued. You'll feel respected. You'll feel deeply powerful and capable of handling whatever comes your way. What better way to live life than that description right there? And that is available for you, my friends. It is available for you. So if you've been following me and you've been like taking in all my messages and my content, and you've been, enjoying my journey, and you've been so like inspired by the things that I say, you believe I'm a truth teller, all these things that I hear from people, right? That I'm inspiring, that I'm a truth teller, that I've got great content, I've got great messaging. Here's the next step for you. It's like, okay, cool, all of these awesome things, and now is your time to be like, yeah, I want that. That is for me, and I want it. And yeah, does it feel scary, right? I know for a lot of you, it feels scary just to send a message, right? Just to write me a DM or send me a text, right? Or I'll leave the link in here that you can drop in the link to actually sign up to book a call. It's like hard, feels almost impossible. I know for me, like I said, I put it off for a year to work with the people that I knew I was meant to work with. I put it off for a year. That's why I give this imploring piece to my message, because I know how hard it is. But it is the next step. And so because I know how hard it is to send me the message, to DM me, to book the call, set up a time for us to meet together, I'm calling it out for what it is. This is your next step. It's to be able to come into partnership with me. To be able to have me, as one of my clients puts it, she calls me having me in her back pocket, right? Because I have a way that you can communicate with me anytime through an app on your phone. And so in a way, I am in your back pocket. Just having me in her back pocket made her feel more capable, more powerful. And she knew that if she hadn't learned how to deal with whatever it was that she wanted or whatever it is she was going through, all she had to do was get out her phone and literally ask me, hey, how does this thing happen? I want this thing. I don't know what to do. Help me. Which is amazing to have that. I went 40 years without knowing that you literally could interact with another human in that exact way at this level, right? So I will drop the link in here. All of that, right? Wrapping it up is reach out to me. I'll put the link in here. If you feel comfortable clicking on the link and just scheduling a time for us to talk, do that. If you want to send me a text, do that. If you want to send me a PM, do that. If you want to comment here, do that. And if you and I have been friends, because I make friends with so many people and I've been alive for a long time now on the planet, if you're somebody that would have called me a friend, right? You see me as a friend and you have rules about working with friends. This is what I want to say to you because I've had this come up recently. Your freedom is so important. It's far more important than any relationship of any kind, in my opinion. Your freedom is the singular most important thing for you to have. And so I no longer live by those rules that I can't work with friends, right? People that I have more of a relationship with already, because I believe my freedom and my living my greatest self, my highest self, is the single most important thing that I am here on this planet to do. Because when I'm living in the fullness of me, everyone that is meant to be inspired and changed and motivated and risen up, brought up, will be affected. And if I'm not being my fullest self, I miss out, and at some level, someone else does too. So I just offer that to you. If you're my friend and you're like, damn, Sarah, you got something going on that I know I want, but we have this history together and I'm not sure if it would be appropriate, right? Those are the words I used to use. I'm not sure if it would be appropriate. Then I just want to let you know, you can change your rule. Like that. That's what I did. Now it took me a hot minute to change that rule. I had to meditate on that one for a hot minute. I needed a lot of help to work that one out because it was deeply ingrained in my system. But once I've moved through that, it's a beautiful thing actually to be able to work with someone that you already have an established relationship with, an established, friendship, partnership kind of perspective that you share that with already. So this has been beautiful. I'm so grateful for you for being here. And for those of you, that were here with me live, thank you. And those of you that are watching it on replay, I would love to know that you watched it on replay. So drop it into the comments, #replay. And I will be here every Sunday morning, unless I give you notice that I won't be. And until I decide not to be, I will be here with you to share this message of hope, to share this message of purpose and excitement and transformation and faith that I have found for myself, because I want it for you. The knowing that I have now is the more people that have this that I have, the happier planet Earth is for all of us to be living on. And amazing to believe that Earth could be even more beautiful than you see it now, even more loving than you experience it now. I believe that for sure. That our Earth is meant for even greater amazingness, greater love, greater peace, greater amazingness. So join me in that vision that we're here to leave a lasting legacy of deep love, of deep belief, of great faith that the earth is an amazing place to be. All right, you guys, as always, thanks for joining me. Go do that thing you most want to do today, and I will talk to you soon.